I showed you quickly how to make a new level and add an active object. So just to quickly go through it again, we made we set up an application and we set the application to 800 by 600. We said we wanted the frames to follow that, and then in one of our frames we put an active object just by double clicking. We added an active object, resized it a bit, put it there, and then all we did was we went to the event editor and added a condition saying that when it leaves the play area, it bounces. Now we're going to make a little bit of an arcade game here, a little bit of a Pong game, a bat and ball game. So we're going to go back to the frame editor and we're going to give this a name because that'll be useful. So we're going to right click on it and click on rename. And we're going to call this bat. And now amazingly, we're going to make another active object. We've got a bat and we're going to label this one. Oops, sorry, I should have right click, rename, ball. Okay, so currently, if we run the game, run the frame, rather than the whole thing, we've got one thing that moves, they don't interact, there's no rules for that, and it bounces along. So let's get rid of that. So we want the ball to behave like a ball, so we're going to choose movement and change the type to bouncing ball. Try the movement. Once again, when it hits the edges, it bounces. When we play the actual game, it won't because there's no condition to say that. So let's close that. That's lovely. I think that's a bit slow actually. So we're going to change the speed from 60 to, yeah, there we go. And that's, I think, nice and hard. Moving at the start. Now, it's going to be moving at the start, but I don't want the ball to go downwards to start off. I always want it to go upwards. So in terms of moving at start, that's fine. But in terms of initial direction here, we want to change that. So I'm going to unselect all and say it can only go in those directions, because otherwise you'll lose straight away. So now if we run the frame, off it goes into space, never to see again. Okay, and maybe that speed is a bit quick, a bit ambitious there. So this one still moves up and down, and I don't want it to be able to do that. So under its directions, under its properties, under its movement, I'm going to change its directions to say only left and right. Now if I run the game, the ball goes off in space, but I press up and down, not going anywhere. So I'm going to just add the same rule for the ball. I'm going to show you two ways to do this. If you left click and get the ball, good thing I named them because they look the same. If I get the ball, and if you remember before, just to right click on it, and then you can choose position, test position, go click, 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 select the outer arrows pointing out the frame. So if the ball leaves the play area, that's the bat, that's the ball. The ball leaves the play area, we want the ball to bounce. Right click, movement, bounce. Now, that's fine, it's all great, but here's a really quick way of doing it. Let's delete that. Let's delete it altogether rather than negate it. Delete, thank you. So that was a right click on the property and delete. So I want the same rule as this, so I click the rule and I can just drop it on the new condition. So I've got the exact same rule. The bat leaves the play area. Click on the bat and I say, well, I want the ball. So now I've got the same rule, and bounce. I want it to bounce, so I just pull that to be underneath the ball. So the rule of bouncing I've just moved across, and the rule I've moved across, and just changed the position of the bounce so it's underneath the right thing, and I've changed the item to be the ball and the bat. So I find that much quicker because you get to write a lot of rules like this, so drag and drop on new condition to make the same rule. Right, now if we run the frame, yay! Now, with my bat and ball game, if I wanted the ball to go off the bottom, I would change the I would change it so that rather than having all of them, I'd unselect this one so that you lose it when it goes off the bottom. So it'll be like that. I don't really want to do it like that. I want it more like a game of squash where you just get points, where it can hit anything and you're not going to lose it. It's just to do with points. So I'm going to put that back. So the ball is fair. Right, now we just need to know when the ball hits the bat. So it doesn't matter which way around you do this, but when the bat, I'm going to right click, collides with another object, the ball, so collision between bat and ball, we want the ball to bounce. I'm just going to pull that down. Run frame. And there we go. Now, because my bat is a really awkward shape, being a diamond, it's going to be very tricky to keep that ball staying vertical. So I'm going to change the visual look of it. So I'm going to go back to our frame editor, I'm going to double click on it, and then you get to draw it. These drawing tools are pretty basic in Multimedia Fusion 2, just like a paint thing. I'd recommend drawing your characters in a different program and importing them in. So I want a filled rectangle, and I'll have it red. So just okay. And now if I resize it, I can get to that. So frame. Hey, now I've got a much better bat. My bat moves a bit slowly compared to the speed of the ball, so I have to be very careful about keeping up with it because I can't move the same no, I'm a little slower than it. Or maybe the same speed. So you can change those things by clicking on it and going into the properties and changing its speed and deceleration. If you change deceleration to nothing, it means you can't ever stop, which is quite fun. Let's do that. So let's run the frame. So I let go and I'm still moving, but I can't change direction, so that's not actually that fun. I'm going to allow it to decelerate. If I can't change direction, there's no point. So bat ball, let's add a score, and then we'll be done. So let's insert a new object. Now this one is to do with the player, and it's a score. Score. Let's drop it down. There's our score. Go into the event editor. A new condition. If the bat hits the ball, let's add to the score. So I'm going to right click, and this is to do with the player rather than the item of the score. The score just shows the player score. So sorry, you wouldn't do it underneath the score, you'd do it underneath the player. Score, add to score, 1. Okay. So add 1 to score, and a new condition. If the ball position, test position, if it's leaving at the bottom, then we want to score. We want to subtract from number of lives, 1. Okay, so we've now added some lives and score. We haven't got the lives showing up. I'll just add them in the same way. Double click, and let's have a look at lives. Lives. Okay. So we've got our hearts for our lives, and we've got our number for our score. So now if I run it, see that every time it hits the bat, I get a score. Now I'm going to lose a life. I'm going to lose another life. I'm going to lose another life. And I'm still playing. Why am I still playing? There's no rule to say what happens. So it doesn't know how to finish the game. So new condition. It's to do with player 1 when the number of lives is 0. When the number of lives is 0, I want to destroy the ball. It's a bit violent, but that's how I roll. So we're going to destroy the ball, and then we can't play the game anymore. Now we're going to add another condition, just have a new condition. On player 1, joystick, we're going to say read joystick state. If they press fire button 1 and not up, so if I press fire button 1, I'm going to allow us to restart the game, which is under the storyboard controls. So restart. I can either restart the current level, the frame, or the whole thing. Seeing as it's only 1 frame big, I'm just going to restart the frame. So, I'll run my game. There I am, getting points. And now I'll die. So there's the lives going down on my last life, and plop, it's gone, and the ball's gone. Now if I press shift, the game starts again. Shift is the standard for player 1 controls. I've restarted, I've kept my score, and I've kept no lives. So that wasn't the right thing to do. I didn't want to restart the frame. I wanted to restart the application so that all of my score and my lives get reset. So let's just check that works. 1 life, and now dead. Okay, now if I press shift, it quits out because I was just running the frame. Let's try running the application. So a learning curve here. So if we run the application, no lives, and if I restart, I get my lives back and my score. Let's get my score up, and if I press shift, yeah, all restarts. So there we go, amazing bat and ball game. Now you can make it much more exciting by adding some new rules. So you can add a new condition. So you could say that timer to do with every 12 seconds, and to create an object, create another ball. And we've got all the rules for the ball already. So if we run the game and wait 12 seconds, it's quite long actually. Let's make it a bit more interesting and say every 4 seconds. So just by adding simple things like that, you take a boring bat and ball game into a crazy bat and ball game where you've got no chance of winning at all. It's going to go, and I've lost. So there we go. And it will keep on creating balls even though my lives are 0. So you'd have to add in a rule. Well, you could change it so that you could destroy the bat, would be the quickest way to do it. And then I wouldn't be able to play, but there we go. So in the space of 7 rules, we've got quite a fun game, which needs a lot of tweaking, but there we go.